This video is in response to a video that I posted about Michael Jackson and Joe. You know what? It wasn't even about Michael Jackson. It was about Joe Jackson. It was about him and how he pretty much made stars out of his family. It seems like everybody's got an opinion, just like I had an opinion. So let me start by saying this. I said what I said and I meant it. And now that that's out of the way, let's talk. First of all, I didn't say that I condone abuse. Did not say that I was normalizing whoopings or violence or whatever they wanted to make it out to be. What I was simply saying was that say what you want about Joe Jackson, with all his faults, he still made his entire family into stars. Everybody wants to say that, oh, he messed up his children. He messed up Michael Jackson. The reason why Michael Jackson was touching or allegedly bothering the little children is because of what Joe Jackson did to him. So I said, okay, let's start there. Here's my thoughts and my theory. First of all, we all have a story or two to tell about our childhood that ain't gonna sit right with other people. But not everybody who gets abused or touched or whatever you want to call it go on to do the same thing to other people. So to say that he's the way he is or he did the things that he did because of Joe Jackson, to me, is a stretch, because Michael Jackson was a grown man when he allegedly did those things. Joe Jackson was a grown man when he made the decision to, quote unquote, be abusive or whatever things that they're saying that he did. He was grown as well. So just like Joe Jackson can't go and say, my daddy did this to me and I did that to my children, and we give Joe Jackson a pass, the same thing with Michael Jackson. I can't say that, oh, because your dad did this to you, that made it acceptable, okay, or I'm going to give you a pass for allegedly touching or doing whatever you did with the children. So my thoughts are, when I talk about there needs to be more Joe Jacksons out here in the world, I'm looking at the fact that he ran a disciplined household. He gave those children structure. They were disciplined. They worked hard. Mediocrity was not an option. All the things that the children today are the opposite of. Children today are rude, disrespectful, lazy. They are mediocre at best. And they want to be pat on the back for every little thing that they've done. And I'm saying that in Joe Jackson's household, that wasn't going to fly. If more parents were as disciplined as he was, as focused as he was, harder on their children than they currently are, then we would have a better group of children. Because these kids out here, soft as butter. I had one person on social media tell me that I was praising the abuser or abuser, however that person put it. And my response is, there are no perfect people. There are no perfect parents. If you think your parent was perfect and your childhood was perfect, look again. Because no, it wasn't. Just as good as it may have seemed or they may have seemed, we all have faults. We have all done some things, said some things that we should not have. Now, it may not be to the degree of what Joe Jackson is being accused of, but the fact of the matter is, not every child responds to trauma or traumatic situations the same way. Joe Jackson had, 9 kids? Michael was the only one we hear about that decided to abuse, allegedly. They all supposedly got whoopings. So while we shoot down Joe Jackson for Michael Jackson's behavior, why didn't everybody end up being the same? Why wasn't all the children abusive? Why didn't Janet, LaToya, Jermaine, Marlon, Tito, why haven't we heard about them abusing children? So I'm saying this to say, and it's the same thing I tell my kids. If a parent did something to you in your childhood, and you're still holding on to that in your adulthood, and you're making poor decisions behind some traumatic event that happened in your childhood, then you are the fault at this point, because you're grown enough to know right from wrong, grown enough to make better decisions, grown enough to know that there are options out there. If you need help, you can get it. Get you some therapy, talk it out, walk it out, and then move on. If you are still using traumatic events from your childhood as a reason why you are doing bad things or making poor decisions in your adulthood, then you are to blame, not that person that quote unquote traumatized you in your childhood. Because at this point, you are grown. You are responsible for your actions as a adult. So if Michael Jackson allegedly started touching the babies when he was an adult, then that is on Michael Jackson, not on Joe Jackson as an adult, because you had the tools, the resources, and the knowledge to know that what you were doing was wrong, what he did to you was wrong, and you could have fixed that. So I stand on what I said when it came to Joe Jackson being a strong father figure in his household. That part is needed today desperately in this day and age. The children are out of control. So in conclusion, do I condone abuse? No. But children do need their ass beat every now and again.